A 5-minute call on behalf of the Green Party, Marama Davidson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Tēnā tātou e te whare. Kia ora. We support, the Green Party will be supporting the Residential Tenancies Amendment Act because it is a step. It is a step, and so we support it. But the government are asking the wrong questions and using the wrong indicators for the standards that are required for families and ordinary people of New Zealand to live in good, safe, warm homes. So whether or not we're talking about the standard of 19 whatever, or the houses that were built after or before 19 whatever, the real questions that we need to be asking here is how can we ensure that every home, that every family has a warm, safe home to live in. That is the standard. That is the standard. Those are the questions that we need to be asking. I rent my home. It is an old home because at the time when looking for a home, the only sorts of houses that were going to be available to me on the waiting list of trying to find a tenancy property as a Māori woman with children were old, drafty, cold homes. That are incredibly difficult to heat. My home is that old that it is not guaranteed that it is going to be insulated under this bill. Last winter, I was sending my children to bed with beanies and thermals on and tons of blankets for fear of turning on the heater. We had a go at turning on the heater in our house, but the heat didn't go anywhere except for outside because the house is drafty, it just escapes, and the power bill was incredibly enormous, but it still didn't heat my home because the heat just disappeared. So after hours and hours of trying to keep my children warm, the heat didn't heat my home. And I was still, my power was cut off because I couldn't afford to pay my bill because my home is not able to be heated without crippling us financially. You shouldn't have to become an MP to be able to pay a power bill, to simply turn on a heater to try and keep your children warm. Those are the questions and the measurements that our government needs to be using whenever it is setting legislation. That is why I look forward to the Green Party and the Labour Party and other parties who genuinely want a progressive government to work to change this government, because it has had 7 years. And it is still the result is that too many families are not living in warm, safe, dry homes, and this bill is not going to cure it. There are still going to be some houses that are not warm enough, and guess who they will be rented by? Guess who those houses will be rented by? And guess who can't afford to turn on a heater to try and heat a house that is draftier and colder? Guess who they will be rented by? For one part, they will be rented by Māori and Pacific families who have incredibly high rates of rental properties and rental tenancies in our country. They will be rented by people who are at the back of the queue when it comes to landlords who can pick and choose who it is that they want to put in their warm, nice homes. The homes that are cold and drafty and not insulated enough under this bill are going to go to Māori and Pacific and lower income families. I was working when I couldn't afford to pay my power bill and try and heat my drafty home. Those are the homes that are going to be left out of this bill, and those are the people who are going to be left to go into those houses. Mr Speaker, the government is asking the wrong questions. The Minister, Nick Smith, could take a lesson out of Sister Anne Hurley's book. She made a submission to this bill, and this is the standard she asked for. The bill should set high enough standards to ensure that the health and well-being of all those residents in rental accommodation is not compromised. That there should be the standard. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
A 5-minute call on behalf of the Labour Party, Jenny Salisa.